Hi, good night. This is U.S. Immigration Attorney Sharifa Tharpe. I am on live to take your immigration questions. So, if you're going through the process, you are thinking about going through the immigration process, then I know that you have questions that you want answers to. And that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to answer your immigration questions. So go ahead. Put your questions in the comments right now, and it can be anything that's immigration related, and I will gladly answer your questions. Now, if it's going to be a little more complicated, of course, I'll let you know that as well. But it's worth a shot to ask your question and see if you get it answered. Sometimes things that you may be worried about are really simple, and there's a quick answer to that. You just may need somebody who has that knowledge to explain it to you. So go ahead, put your questions in the comments. As you join, and as you think of your questions, or as the questions come in, I am going to formally introduce myself to those of you who don't know me. I am U.S. Immigration Attorney Sharifa Tharpe. I help clients to get status in the United States. And by status, I mean I help them get to their green card, as well as visas, or any kind of status that would help them to live and work in the United States. So 701, I want to know more about the treaty investor visa. So great. So what you're referring to is the E2 treaty investor visa. And this is for citizens of certain countries. So there are countries all over the world, not every single country, but some countries have signed a treaty with the United States that allows them to come to the United States. If they qualify, come to the United States to basically either start a business or expand their business in the United States. So to qualify for this, you'll have to be the citizen of that country. For example, Jamaica. So Jamaica is one of these countries. And then the next is to show that you have been investing, or you have been, or you're currently investing in the business in the United States. So now money in the bank is not going to be enough. Having money sitting in the bank, you have to show that you're actively investing in the business. So that means creating the entity, hiring staff, renting or leasing the property that you're going to need. They're going to need to see that you're spending that money to be able to successfully run the company. So I am an American citizen. How long after I got divorced can I remarry someone who is undocumented? So if you know there's usually no limit on remarrying, but where it may be an issue during the immigration process is if you married someone before, so your ex-spouse, and you went through the green card process with that ex-spouse, you helped them to get their permanent residence, and then you divorce them shortly after and then remarry somebody else, then you're going to definitely be scrutinized, and you're going to have to meet a higher standard to get that green card for your spouse. So usually what they look at is if you get married, so if you got someone else a green card through the marriage, and then within 5 years you marry someone else and apply again for the permanent residence, then you're going to have to show the bona fides of your current marriage. In addition, you're going to have to show the bona fides of the previous marriage as well, even though that marriage is done with and the green card was already granted. So that is definitely a more difficult standard to meet. So keep that one in mind. So if you're filing, if you was on filing with you, so if you are, I think you missed that one, with you, but was put on hold, now embassy status on case ready, what's next? So I'm not sure who was on it with you, but if they are on it with you, I don't know what the situation is. Please clarify so I can answer that properly for you. So how long after traveling to the US can I revisit? For instance, if I traveled in January. So usually there's no limit on when you can come back. But what the officer is going to look at when you're coming in and out is how often, how long are you coming? Are you trying to use your visitor's visa to live in the United States? Because where some people do get into trouble is if they come, they get 6 months to stay, they leave for a week and then come back again and try to get another 6 months. Some people have gotten their visas revoked because the officer reads that as they're trying to live in the United States. So, you just have to make sure that you comply with all the rules and that you're not trying to use the visa to live in the U.S. So I called your office and someone told me you're going to give a call the scheduling coordinator will call you and schedule. So I don't personally, unless you're on my schedule, I don't personally call you back. But I don't know what happened there. What you can do is go to I don't know if it got lost along the way, but go to the website. The link is in my bio and there's a contact form there. Complete it with your name and your phone number and we'll definitely give you a call back. So if you can't get through by phone, because sometimes the phone lines get very busy, then please by all means go ahead and use the contact form because when we get basically a list of individuals that needs our help or needs to be contacted, and then we call you back on the next business day. Now, Ibe Conte, if you called just recently, so if you call when the office is closed or you call during the weekend, we're going to contact you on the next business day. So Rita Persad, it's nice to see you here. Can my mom sponsor me and my husband? How long does it take? So if your mom is a U.S. citizen, then she can sponsor you and your husband. But keep in mind that process takes about 12 years right now. Kim, if your kids were on the filing but put on hold, no status on case says ready, what's next? So if your kids are on the filing and they do still qualify, then everything should be good. Now, if they aged out, that could be another issue. For example, if they're over 21, then that could become an issue. But if they're still under 21 and they're still on your filing base, everything still qualifies, they would go through the green card process with you. And stay 2 months, and I want to go back in June, which is 2 months after the fact. So there's no limit on when you can travel back and forth as long as you have a valid visa to come into the country. Just keep in mind that you have to always make sure you have evidence that you're coming temporarily. So Mercy Highly Favor, if I'm getting divorced after 9 years of marriage and my first marriage wasn't for helping. So there is no limit on you getting remarried. Because if usually where there's a higher level of scrutiny is if you help somebody else, your previous spouse, get their papers, and then now you're divorcing and helping someone else. If that's not the case, and usually they look within the 5 years. But if that's not the case, there's no limit. You can get married right away and, move forward with your life. So Ghanaian, what can I do when my citizen father filed for my sister years ago and still no news? So it depends. It really depends on the situation. What kind of application did he file? What is your sister's age? So what is your father? So your father is a citizen, but what's your sister's age? It sounds like she would be over 21. Right now, the process is taking about 6 to 7 years. So you may need more time. So Niraj, how long time for U.S. citizenship? I'm seeing an average of 6 months. It can go from 6 to 12 months, but I'm seeing an average of 6 months. Goodies 868, thanks for sharing the live. Rita Persad, you're welcome. So Malona, can I do a 5-week course on a visitor's visa, or can I change status when I'm there? So, whether you can change status really depends on how long the process will take. So usually when you're on a visitor's visa, it's hard to change status because, you have to go through the process of getting a student visa. So I don't know what kind of course this is. It all depends, but usually you usually need a visa, but with this being a 5-week course, is it by a university? Is it a certified program? You'll have to check with the course as well. Check with them to see if this is going to require a student visa. It may not, because it might be a 5-week course to help you with your business. And in a case like that, it wouldn't necessarily be accredited school. And I think you would be okay with that. But check with the school to see if they have their procedures for student visas. Goodest 868, once again, thanks for sharing the live. Sandeep, you will need to check with, now when you have RFEs, that is going to definitely add to the processing time, because every time that you send back an RFE, it's going to take a while, definitely months long, for them to respond to it and then put it back in the queue for a decision. So check on your case, make sure there's nothing pending on your side. So hang tight while I get to all of your questions. To date was 2010. So Ghanaian, I don't know what the situation is. You definitely need to contact them to find out what the holdup is. I lost my report birth certificate abroad. How can I have a replacement? So you'll usually have to go to the civil authority that issues the birth certificate. So I don't know where you're from, but you'll have to usually you can get it through the mail. You can get a certified copy through the mail. But you have to go to the civil authority in your state if you're from the United States or in your country. 3 months can they get their green card, or how long can they stay in the US? So usually green cards definitely, it's definitely not the norm to get green card in 3 months. Shadi, thanks for the follow. What if you and your husband recently had baby in April of 2021 and are in the US for almost 3 years? So usually babies, US citizen babies, still won't qualify you for status. That baby will have to get to 21 years old to be able to apply for parents. So the E2, so Shadi, the E2 visa is a visa for individuals who are citizens of certain countries. And if they want to come to the United States, start a business or expand a business and get a visa to do it. And what you want to show is that you have a substantial investment, that's capital, to be able to run the business successfully in the US, and that you will need the E2 visa to be able to be physically in the United States to run that business. Some of the countries in the Caribbean, South America, and North America, Central America are Panama, Costa Rica, Canada, Grenada, Jamaica, Trinidad, Argentina, Bolivia. So those are just some examples of E2 countries. So if someone was charged for petty theft in the US, and each time of travel you go through a different level. So when it comes down to criminal issues, definitely that's going to require a consultation, because it depends on all the facts and circumstances involved. So Kim, I got my green card, I'm in the state. Do I have to pay a fee for the appointment? So Kim, I got my green card, I'm in the state. Do I have to pay a fee for the appointment? I'm not sure what appointment. Is that the interview or the biometrics appointment? If you have your green card, then what are you applying? Are you applying for a renewal? Miss Fifi 351, tell me more about the E2. So many people want to know about the E2. So as I said before, it allows individuals to come to the United States to invest in a business or expand their business operations from their country. Now, you have to be the citizen of an E2 country to be able to get this type of visa. And E2 countries are Trinidad, examples, because not all, there are countries all around the world, but I'm just doing in our particular region. And it's going to be Jamaica, Trinidad, Grenada, Argentina, Bolivia, Mexico, Panama, Costa Rica, Canada, England. So those are some examples of countries. And a part of it is to show the substantial investment and also to show that you need to be here in the US to run that business. So you'd be able to live and work in the US while you run the business. So if this is something that you really want to do, definitely schedule a consultation. I help my clients to prepare. So I advise them as they make their investments in the business, as they get everything set up, and then I submit the application. So go ahead, schedule a consultation, and let's talk about your particular plan. There are no limits on the type of business that you want to start. I mean, of course, you have to show that you have to run it in the United States. You are going to be you're going to need to be here to run it. So, for example, online businesses, you still would have to show why you have to be in the United States to run an online business. It doesn't involve passive investments like if you want to do stocks, that would not be included. So you wouldn't make an investment or a passive investment in a company. Now, with the company, if you are running a business, you have to be at least 50% owner of the business for it to be considered an E2 country business. So keep that one in mind as well. It's not just based on your citizenship, but if you have an entity, so a corporation, then you have to have 50% ownership to show, or you have to be in a management position. So that in a nutshell is the E2. So like how much money? So that's another good thing about this E2 visa is that there is no minimum or maximum. However, that substantial investment has to be enough to be able to successfully run that business. So it's basically dependent on the business. If the business, for example, the lower amount that it takes, so if it doesn't take a large amount of money to run the business, then you're expected to have the entire amount or invest the entire amount. So for example, the lower amount would be about 100,000. And if your business requires 100,000, that's a low amount and that's about the average that you would expect to get an approval on an E2 and 100,000 US dollars. And you'd be expected to show that you have the entire amount. Now, when we say have the entire amount, I don't mean that you just pull up a bank statement with $100,000 in there. They have to see that this money is going into the business, that is going into the setup of the business, going into creating the business, employing individuals. They have to see a business plan. What do you have for the future? So there's quite a lot involved. But the good thing is it doesn't require millions of dollars to get this E2 visa. How long after arriving in the state on a visitor visa can you get married? So I would not be able to tell you that. It's really just based on your particular situation. Now, if you get married too quickly after arriving, it may appear as if you plan to come to the US, and so if you get married and then apply right away, it may appear as if you plan to stay in the United States and not come temporarily, and that can be a problem during the interview. So it's all dependent on your situation, Cams Diamond. So Cheryl Official, how can I apply for an ITIN and get a bank account without being in the US? So you will need to, if you go to the irs.gov, you'll see search tax assistant agents, and you'll be able to locate an agent that can help you with that. Miss Fifi 351, thanks for sharing. Hi, I got my approval letter and filed an 824 over 2 months, haven't heard anything. Contact them, Queen Bee, and see what's up with your case. Mika Bless, so do they have to have a business? So usually you'll have to show that you have some sort of business. Now, businesses come in different shapes and forms. So businesses come in the forms of a corporation, a limited liability, a partnership. And so it can take that form, but you have to show that this is a functioning business where you are doing business, you're investing in it, that you are at risk, meaning your money is at risk in this business. So Sebontu, can I change my age if I'm from different country, which I have different calendar, please? So I'm not sure about that. They go by the date on your birth certificate, and I don't know any other system. So Paper Chase, just listening. I like that name. That's very familiar. I read that before I went to law school. Melbourne Green Laba. My daughter turned 21 in 2 months and want to file for me. How do we go about doing that? So your daughter would have to file the relevant forms. That's great. So she's 21 and if she's a US citizen, then you can file the adjustment of status. And that involves different forms. You can also apply for a work permit. What you can do is contact me, schedule a consultation. Let's go through everything to make sure you really qualify that. And then I can explain to you the different detail steps. But basically you'll apply using the relevant forms. And then once you apply, you can apply for a work permit. You can apply to stay in the United States while your process is going through. Then about 6 months after applying, 6 to 8 months, you get the work permit, which helps because then you can legally work, not have to worry about working under the table. And then after that, you can then you would be called for an interview. So that interview is where you would get an approval or a decision on your green card. So give me a call. This is what I'm here for, is to assist you with that. So I can actually assist you, represent you, and get you through the process. So I am located in Boca Raton. However, I represent clients all over the country and the globe because we work with the USCIS offices across state lines and US embassies as well. So keep that in mind. Mika Bless, you're welcome. So Dave Pierre, why are you charging to talk to people when I call for a consultation? Because I am providing value. I am an attorney. I'm providing a service. And so when you are in that consultation, you are getting legal advice. And it's not free. So because you are taking my time, you're taking my knowledge, you're taking my expertise. And so there is a cost for that. What you are getting though is invaluable because for $150, you are able to walk out knowing your options, knowing what you need to do, knowing the strategy, knowing the steps in the process, knowing whether you qualify, knowing whether you don't qualify. That in itself has value. And so that's why I charge, because I do have to still, it's a business that I run and I still provide this service, but it is still life-changing and it still helps individuals. And now in the consultation, you're able to get your options and we both can decide whether further representation is necessary. So it allows you to be able to interview me and I to interview you to figure out if this is a right fit, whether you do qualify and whether you need the help. So it's really up to you to decide whether you want to take advantage of that value, Dave. So Melbourne Green Lava, you're welcome. Let's see. I want to file for my husband to come here and I'm looking for a lawyer. Do you do that kind of work? Absolutely. So this is exactly what I do. If your husband wants to come, Mika, I definitely help with that process. So call, schedule a consultation. Now I start with a consultation to make sure you qualify, make sure that I can take your case and I advise you along the way. And then I can provide you a quote, all being well, and you qualify. So go ahead, give me a call, schedule a consult. So Island Boss, thanks for following. Shans, is it possible to apply for an EB3 while here in the US with a tourist visa? So you must maintain legal status to be able to do an adjustment of status through the EB3. And so a tourist visa, it's highly unlikely you'll be able to maintain your status while going through that process, because it does take a while. So user 199, I answered that already. So my dad had a green card but passed away. I still use his documents to get my green card as his son. So now I with that situation, I don't know what your situation is. I don't know if you already went through the process. I don't know if you've now had trouble because of that. But if you want legal advice, just go ahead, schedule a consult, and then we can talk more about your details. So I see, Ricardo, that you've been asking questions but not getting answers. So sometimes that happens for some reason. Now I'm seeing this, that you're not getting answers, but I'm not seeing your questions. So try to retype, but sometimes that happens where sometimes if you keep dropping in and out of the live, every time you drop out, your question will leave as well. So keep that in mind. User 899, thanks for the follow. So keep your questions coming, because that is why I'm here. So Jamaican Brogard, use the Q&A feature, guys. Good idea. Exactly. Now I do say drop the questions in the comments, but yeah, you are right. There is a Q&A feature that may work very well. So go ahead and use that, and let's see if that works better. So keep those questions coming, because that's why I'm here. Now, I know questions are coming. I don't see any right now, but there's a little delay. So try to use the Q&A feature at the bottom, or continue to do what you're doing. Chantel, can I apply to your agency as a registered nurse to work in the US? So I don't run an agency, an employment agency. So Ricardo Henry, how can I get information on immigration? So a good way to start is to go to the uscis.gov, and then you will see all sorts of options. So you'll see how to live in the US, how to visit, and you can learn more about your options there. So Spice Princess 3, if you have a visiting visa and Cman visa, can you file for adjustment of status? You have to be very careful with that, because if you overstay on the Cman visa, then you cannot qualify. So if you're traveling on the Cman's visa, you will not be able to qualify. So Spice Princess, before you do anything, schedule a consultation with me, and let's talk about what's going on in your situation, because it could spell trouble if you come in on the Cman's visa and you overstay and thinking you can do the adjustment of status when you really can't, and then you end up being barred if you leave, and so you're stuck. So schedule a consultation. Let's talk about what's happening. I want to file for divorce but also file for my husband. What will that stop his papers? So yes, if you file for divorce from him and you get the divorce before the papers have gone through, then it will definitely stop him from getting his green card. Wise Bees World, can you get a work permit on a B1, B2 visa? No, you cannot. So can you file or change status on a J1 visa? It depends. So it depends. If you're subject to the 2-year, returning resident, so foreign residency requirement, that could spell trouble, especially when you're applying for permanent residence. However, if that does not apply, it is possible, as long as you qualify to go from that one category to the other. You have to make sure, it depends on what you want to change status to. So schedule a consultation, we can talk more about that. So which process is faster, getting married here or the fiance visa? They're both taking long right now. I have situations where the K visa has taken longer than the marriage base. So, it's what I would say is, for the time that the fiance visa is taking, you could get married, file for the immigrant visa. When they come here, they will become a permanent resident. versus waiting over a year for the fiance visa. Then they come to the US, then you get married, then you have to file the green card process again. So it's a little more expensive. So you incur more of a cost versus going through just getting married, if you can, getting married in the country, the foreign country, applying for the immigrant visa, and then as soon as they land in the US on the immigrant visa, they become a permanent resident. No other process required. Unless, of course, they're doing the conditional, they get the 2-year green card that they have to return in 2 years. But if not, if they get the 10-year, that's it. Christina Walker, how long does it take to get your 10-year green card? It depends on who's applying for you, before I would be able to answer the length of time. So Carla Tavares, thanks for sharing the live. So let's see if there are any more questions here. All right, so keep your questions coming because I am here to answer your immigration questions. So Avi Sonia, my BF is on a B1, but it's been a long time. How he can apply for a work permit? So you can't qualify for a work permit on a B1. It must be you must be applying for must be applying for an underlying other immigration benefit, like a green card that allows you to work at the same time. But a B1 is not going to allow you. So these were all great questions. Thank you so much for your questions. I will be back tomorrow. So what you can do is it okay to send case inquiries with the USCIS after the timeline? Yes. So you can always do that. So go ahead and follow me, and tomorrow I will come back. I am usually here every day with very few exceptions. So follow me. As soon as you see me go live, then you can hop on, ask your questions again. So it was a pleasure answering your questions. For those of you who I didn't get to your questions, go ahead and follow me and hop on another time and have your questions ready. If you'd like to get in touch with me to schedule a consultation, so what's your work time for me to call? So you can call any time of the day. So if you're up at 1 a.m., you need to call the office, and after hours receptionist will speak with you, take your name and your number, and then the scheduling coordinator on the next business day, which the next business day is going to be Monday. It's a holiday, but I have my doors open because I know many of you are off that day, and that's the day you could use to get advice. But they will get back to you on the next business day and then schedule the consultation with you. So the working hours are 8:30 a.m. to all the way back to 11 p.m. But as I said before, when we're not here answering the phones, the after hours receptionist is, and they'll take your information. So and I have one last question here. Carla, I'm glad that I was helpful tonight. It's Prince. Can a green card application be filed for if you're engaged to a green card holder? So no, the green card holders can't file for their fiancés. All right, so it's always a pleasure. I'll see you all tomorrow. Thank you so much for joining in, and thanks for your great questions.